Today I'm in my beautiful home country of Austria with some awesome mountain and lake views behind me, but I also have a brand new murdered out G82 BMW M4, and not just any M4, this is the XDrive version. And for the past 35 years, these M cars have been offered as only rear-wheel drive, and for the first time ever, we have an XDrive powered M4 and M3 with the new G80 and G82 models. So we're about to put this bad boy to the test and see if the XDrive lives up to the BMW M name. Let's go do it. All right guys, before we take this absolute monster out on the road and see what it's all about, I want to quickly talk about the exterior, because the looks of this thing, as we all know, when it first came out was quite controversial, especially with these front kidney grills, And to be honest, now looking at it, especially in this murdered out spec, I think it looks really freaking aggressive and it's unique. You also have these two kind of front indents on the hood right here, which I think look really good and add to the aggressive look. You also have these beautiful blue accents on these LED lights. Coming down the side of the car, you get these gorgeous competition package 19-inch alloy wheels. You get the M4 competition badging right on the side there, except this is in plastic, so come on BMW, you're a exclusive manufacturer, a luxury manufacturer, you can do better than that. Do away with the plastic. You also get the M mirrors on the side there to add a little bit to the aggressive look. And then of course you have the same competition package alloy 20-inch wheels at the rear this time. And then the best looking part of this brand new G82 BMW M4 is most certainly the rear. I think the rear fourth quarter is the best angle of this car. You have this gorgeous quad exhaust right here with this rear diffuser and some really cool and dynamic lights. But come on, nobody really wants to hear me blobbing about the exterior looks of this thing. Let's go drive it. All right guys, so I'm now sat in the interior of the brand new BMW M4, and I can tell you straight off the bat, this is quite a nice space to be in. This car was spec'd with the standard BMW M4 seats, so these are not the carbon fiber bucket seats. But the nice thing about that is that these seats, they feel very nice. They're not too rigid. I know I won't get any back pain if I'm sitting in this car for 4 hours. It's also filled with really nice feeling leather all around. And then on the dashboard right here, you get a carbon fiber trim. This right side of the car is honestly quite plain. And then the center console again is filled with carbon fiber accents everywhere. And you also have this nice shiny alloy trim surrounding the middle console as well. And then additionally, you get all your buttons right here as well. So we have the exhaust button to make the exhaust louder or quieter. You have the M mode, your setup. The M mode is basically where you can adjust how powerful you want the engine to be. So if you want it to be in the sportiest setting or the comfort setting, same thing with suspension, that's where you do that as well, and the steering feel, etc. You also have the start and stop engine in this red color, which I think adds to the sporty feel on the interior. And then the most important piece on the interior, I would say, is the steering wheel. And I tell you, this steering wheel makes you feel like you're in a sporty car. It is lathered in leather and carbon fiber all around. Even the paddle shifters are carbon fiber, which I absolutely adore the way they look and feel. You also have the BMW M stitching on the inside of the steering wheel, which looks very nice as well. And then you have your M1 and M2 buttons, again in red, to add to that sporty feel. If you kind of have it set up the right way, you'd have, you're comfortable driving this way and then your sportiest settings on this. And so you can just toggle between the two and basically choose for when you want to be in those driving modes. And it's just a very easy way instead of messing around here and trying to change it all. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now sat in the BMW M4 driving this thing. So I have it in the most comfortable settings right now. And what I can tell you from first things first is you get in this car and you can really feel that this is a heavier and bigger M4 compared to the previous generation. And I gotta be honest, in these most comfortable settings, the car actually drives in a quite subtle manner. You do have that raspiness and that vibration from the motor to tell you that you're in a sports car. I think the biggest question that we have to answer on this drive is, will the XDrive take away from the M driving experience? And what I mean by the M driving experience is having that fun rear-wheel drive, tail-happy BMW that we all have known for the past 35 years, right? They say that this car has a rear-wheel drive bias to it, And so what that means is majority of the power is sent to the rear wheels. 40% of the power is sent to the front and 60 power is sent to the rear wheels. Hopefully we have that dynamic duo of being a car that's still able to be fun and enjoyable and a little bit tail happy, whilst also having the additional performance that you get from an all-wheel drive vehicle. So now we're coming up onto the mountaintop pass, and we have some twisties where we can really feel the performance of this thing and talk about all the different sensations I get from driving this thing. I can tell you right off the bat, the transmission, you know, BMW switched from a dual clutch transmission to a 8-speed Steptronic, and in the sportiest setting, yeah, it's still kind of quick, but you can tell that this thing is not a DCT, so that's a little bit of a downside. But at the same time, it's still quick enough to be able to really have fun with it and move on to that next power shift. The other thing that is very apparent from driving this thing is that you can feel the weight, the extra weight that this car possesses. I mean, when going through some of these twisties, the suspension does a great job of keeping the car balanced, and that four-wheel drive system, you do feel a little hint of it coming out of the corners, disrupting the steering feel. But it is clear that the power is a little bit more rear biased. What's so cool is when you put this thing into the sportier settings, and I have it in track mode now, the throttle response is just instantaneous. You can really feel the power, and the upshifts, you have that awesome grunt from the inline six every time you pull the paddle, even when you downshift as well. So now we're coming up to some more twisties, so we're gonna push the thing again, see how it handles coming out of corners. I mean, man, it just picks up. The steering is ridiculously agile. The brakes, you can tell that this thing is a performance machine. It's a lot of fun, I'll tell you that much. What's so cool as well is when you put this thing into the sportier settings, you have a heads-up display, right? And on the heads-up display, the setup drastically changes, and you can actually see the RPM or rev counter, which is truly, truly unique. And the thing's actually flashing at me when I need to upshift. That's a really, really nice feature, because when you're driving aggressively, you don't want to be looking down at the dashboard to know when to shift. And you're just looking straight ahead, and that heads-up display is right in front of you, and it's blinking at you, so you see it blinking, you're like, oh, I need to upshift, right? It just makes it much easier and safer for the driver when you're trying to have some fun as a driver. But man, oh man, that thing picks up like crazy. And the brakes do a great job. And again, you just have those upshifts that produce that growl. What I can tell is different from the steering compared to the other M cars I have driven is on turn-in, it feels really, really agile and light. So what I mean by that is the car will just dart right into the corner, and that first initial turn-in on the steering wheel, it doesn't give me this heavy feedback. It's just a light kind of instant dart into the corner, and then once you're in the corner, the steering wheel actually loads up then nicely. But what I can say is that you just have tons of grip from the all-wheel drive system. And so the difference in those rear-wheel drive M cars is that when you turn in, it's much more of a heavy and forceful action, because that front end grip isn't affected by the all-wheel drive system. Oh, but it sounds so good and it feels good. And wow, the thing has freaking grip around these corners. I mean, that is sensational. Where other M cars would be understeering on those corners, I have confidence to actually apply power in the middle of the corner and the thing will keep pulling that direction. A rear-wheel drive M car, the front end would be understeering at that point. It would lose grip. So, I mean, it makes sense why the thing was faster around the Nürburgring in that aspect. That was ridiculous. Holy crap. When you upshift, it's almost like a combustion explosion goes on behind you in the exhaust. Let me show you as an example. It makes this really nice kind of sound every time you hit the upshift when you're full throttle. Let's do it. Yeah, right there. Boom. Again. And it just, those little things are the nice features that add to the driving experience of an M car, right? It makes it more theatrical, more enthusiastic, just more fun overall to drive the machine. And it's also an addicting thing. It's like, oh, I want to hear that noise every single time because it does sound good. I like it. But one thing I will say with the exhaust note on this G82 M4 XDrive is I spent quite some time in the BMW M2, the first generation, and that from factory has a little bit of a burble tune. So when you're driving and you downshift, it makes some of these pops like, and a lot of AMGs do that. Even, you know, Lamborghini Huracans do that. Here, it's just the engine revving to high heavens when you downshift. There's no kind of pops or bangs or anything like that when you downshift, and I feel like it's missing that. There's an example, you know, just downshift. There's no pops or anything like that. But you do get those pops on the upshifts, and the thing just does pick up tremendously. It's interesting here. Man, the thing is just moving through those corners. I can really just put a lot of force into the steering wheel. The one interesting thing is that you do feel the extra weight and the extra baggage that comes with these new G82 M4s. It's still fascinating. Like there. Okay. Hey. Spinning out this time. Dude, slow it down, slow it down. Thank God. But I swear, I tell you, man, and I've said this with some of the other M cars, is that they give you a sense of confidence that other cars really do not. And it's fascinating how the thing can just lean. The one point I want to bring up after driving this thing on some twisties is that maybe a little bit of that tail happiness and fun aspect of the car was flushed out a little bit due to that all-wheel drive system now. Although when you can just come out of corners with that much speed, it's fun in a different way, if that makes sense. All right, guys, so we're closing out the review of the BMW G82 M4 Competition XDrive. Honestly, what a freaking car. I'm going to tell you my 3 biggest takeaways. We posed that question at the start of the video, does the XDrive take away from the fun drivability aspect of an M car? And I will say no. It's still very, very fun to drive around the corners, especially because the XDrive allows you to go through those corners and come out of the corners with so much more speed. They actually tested the G82 Competition XDrive versus a regular G82 on the Nürburgring, and the XDrive came out a whole 2 seconds faster than the non-XDrive G82 M4 Competition. So that just proves my point right there. The next big takeaway that I'll say is that you can really feel the weight of this car. I've been in the F87 BMW M4, the previous generation M4, and that really felt like a car that was only focused on providing the driver with a sport feel and essence. This is more like a luxury combined with that sport. All the nice leather, the interiors, all those amenities, and then just the really nice feel. It's not as aggressive with the transmission either, with that Steptronic. And then the last thing I'll say is it looks pretty freaking hot. When this thing first came out, you know, everybody was so upset with the way it looked, especially with these front nostrils right here. But in my opinion, especially in this freaking spec, it looks absolutely gorgeous and super sporty. Remember to check out PS Sportwagenvermietung if you're ever in Austria and want to drive some awesome supercars and sports cars in the gorgeous Austrian mountains. I'll put their Instagram right up here. Remember to go check them out. A big thanks to them for letting us take out their awesome BMW M4 Competition. And with that being said, that's it for the review of the G82 BMW M4 Competition XDrive. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please browse the channel, subscribe, check out my other videos. You guys know what to do, and I'll be back with even better car content next time.